The moment Eliza Winters discovered the truth about James Parker, her blood turned to ice. The same man she'd coldly dismissed from her company was the father of her 5-year-old daughter. Life had a cruel way of bringing back the consequences of our past choices. If you're enjoying this story, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more emotional dramas that explore life's unexpected twists and second chances. The morning light filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Eliza Winters' corner office. At 35, she had everything she'd ever worked for: CEO of Wintercorp Technologies, a penthouse overlooking the city, and a reputation that struck both fear and respect in the hearts of her employees. What she didn't have was time for excuses, which was exactly what James Parker was offering her now. "Ms. Winters, I understand the project is behind schedule. My daughter came down with pneumonia last week, and I had to take her to the hospital. I've been working nights to catch up, but—" Eliza cut him off with a raised hand, her expression unchanged. "Mr. Parker, everyone has personal problems. What they don't have is the luxury of letting those problems affect Wintercorp's bottom line. You've been with us for 3 months, and I've noticed a pattern of absences and missed deadlines." James stood straighter, his tired eyes meeting hers. "I'm a single father, Ms. Winters. Sometimes emergencies happen that I can't control. Then perhaps this isn't the right environment for you." She slid a document across her immaculate desk. "Your termination papers. HR will process your final paycheck." She watched dispassionately as the color drained from his face. He didn't plead or argue. Instead, he nodded once, gathered his dignity around him like a shield, and walked out of her office. Victoria, Eliza's assistant, entered moments later. "Your 5 o'clock with the board is ready. And don't forget, Sophia's school called. Parent-teacher conference tomorrow at 3. Sophia. Her beautiful, precocious daughter. The one piece of her life that had nothing to do with spreadsheets and profit margins. The result of one night 5 years ago with a stranger whose name she'd never even asked for. "Reschedule it," Eliza said automatically. "Ms. Winters," Victoria said, her voice gentle but firm, "this is the 3rd time you've rescheduled." Sophia's teacher was quite insistent. Eliza sighed, rubbing her temples. "Fine. Block the time." That evening, Eliza returned to her penthouse to find her daughter waiting, dark curls bouncing as she ran to greet her. "Mommy. Look what I drew today." Sophia thrust a crayon drawing into her hands, a tall woman with brown hair holding hands with a small girl. Behind them was a question mark with a face. "Who's this?" Eliza asked, pointing to the question mark. "That's my daddy," Sophia said matter-of-factly. "Emily says everyone has one. Where's mine?" The question Eliza had been dreading for years. "Some families are different, sweetheart. Some have just a mommy, or just a daddy, or 2 mommies or 2 daddies. But where is mine? He's not in our lives, sweetheart." Eliza's voice was tight. How could she explain a one-night stand to a 5-year-old? The next day, Eliza sat uncomfortably in a child-sized chair, facing Ms. Bennett, Sophia's kindergarten teacher. "Sophia is extremely bright," Ms. Bennett began, "but lately she's been acting out. Yesterday, she refused to participate in our family day activities." "Acting out how?" "She got upset when the other children talked about their fathers. She told everyone her daddy was a secret agent who couldn't visit because he was saving the world." Eliza's chest tightened. "I see. Ms. Winters, children Sophia's age need stability. Her questions about her father are normal and healthy. Have you considered how you might address this with her?" Eliza left the conference with a heavy heart and a recommendation for a child psychologist specializing in single-parent families. As she walked through the school hallway, she nearly collided with a man exiting another classroom. "I'm sorry, I wasn't," the words died in her throat as she recognized James Parker. He looked equally shocked. "Ms. Winters," he said stiffly. Before she could respond, a little girl with copper-colored hair came bounding out of the classroom. "Daddy! Ms. Johnson says I'm reading at second grade level now." Eliza watched as James's stern expression melted into pure adoration. "That's amazing, Lily." He swung the little girl up into his arms, wincing slightly as he did so. "Are you okay, Daddy?" the girl asked. "Just tired, pumpkin. Let's get you home." As they turned to leave, the little girl stared curiously at Eliza. Something about her eyes made Eliza's heart skip a beat. That night, Eliza couldn't sleep. She kept seeing James's face, the way it transformed when his daughter appeared. She'd fired him knowing he was a single parent, never once considering what that might mean for his child. Had she always been this cold? The next morning, she called HR. "I need James Parker's file and contact information. Ms. Winters, due to privacy policies. Just do it." She hung up before hearing any further objections. The file revealed little she didn't already know. James Parker, 36, software engineer. Hired 3 months ago. Performance reviews showed he was excellent when present, but his attendance was spotty. There was a note about his daughter's medical condition, congenital heart defect, multiple surgeries. No mention of the mother. Against her better judgment, Eliza drove to the address listed in his file after work. It was a modest apartment building in a working-class neighborhood, worlds away from her luxury penthouse. She sat in her car for 20 minutes, questioning her sanity. What was she doing here? To apologize? To offer his job back? She never second-guessed her business decisions. Just as she was about to drive away, she saw them, James and his daughter, returning with grocery bags. The little girl was skipping, chattering excitedly. Even from a distance, Eliza could see the exhaustion in James's posture. Before she could change her mind, Eliza got out of her car and approached them. "Mr. Parker." He froze, instinctively pulling his daughter closer. "Ms. Winters. This is unexpected. I was hoping we could talk." His expression hardened. "I don't think we have anything to discuss. Please. 5 minutes." He hesitated, then nodded toward the building. "Lily, go upstairs and start your homework. I'll be right up." The little girl looked between them curiously before obeying. When she was gone, James turned to Eliza, arms crossed defensively. "What do you want? I saw you at Evergreen Elementary yesterday. Your daughter goes there?" "Yes. I'm trying to keep her there, despite losing my job." The accusation hung in the air between them. "I want to offer you your position back," Eliza said, the words sounding foreign even to her own ears. "With accommodations for your daughter's medical needs." James looked stunned, then suspicious. "Why? You made it clear family emergencies aren't tolerated at Wintercorp." "I was wrong. The admission cost her something, but she forced herself to continue. Seeing you with your daughter, it made me realize I've been unfair. My own daughter goes to Evergreen as well." "You have a child?" The surprise in his voice stung more than it should have. "Yes. Sophia. She's 5. Something flickered across his face, recognition. "Sophia Winters? The little girl with the dark curls in Ms. Bennett's class?" Eliza nodded, surprised. "You know her? Lily mentions her sometimes." His expression softened slightly. "Look, I appreciate the offer, but I need to think about it. My daughter comes first, and I need to be certain your change of heart isn't temporary." "I understand. Take the weekend. Call me Monday." She handed him her card with her personal number scrawled on the back. As she turned to leave, he called after her. "Ms. Winters? Why Evergreen? It's not exactly in your neighborhood." She paused. It was recommended for their support of non-traditional families. Sophia's father isn't in the picture. He nodded, a strange expression crossing his face. Good night, Ms. Winters. That weekend, Eliza found herself thinking about James constantly. Something about him nagged at her memory, something beyond their professional relationship. On Sunday, she took Sophia to the park, hoping the fresh air would clear her head. Mommy, look! It's Lily! Sophia suddenly squealed, pointing toward the playground. Eliza's heart lurched as she spotted the familiar copper-haired girl on the swings. James sat on a nearby bench, watching his daughter while typing on a laptop. Before Eliza could stop her, Sophia was running toward Lily, waving enthusiastically. With a sigh, Eliza followed. James looked up as they approached, surprise evident on his face. Ms. Winters. Please, call me Eliza. She gestured to the bench. May I? He nodded, closing his laptop. They watched in silence as their daughters played together, clearly already friends from school. She looks like you, James said finally. Sophia. Thank you. Lily is beautiful too. She has your smile. But her mother's eyes and hair. A shadow passed over his face. She died shortly after Lily was born. Complications during delivery. I'm so sorry, Eliza said, meaning it. That must have been devastating. It was. We weren't together anymore when she got pregnant, but we were trying to make it work for Lily's sake. He paused. What about Sophia's father? Eliza stared at the playground, uncomfortable with the personal turn of the conversation. He doesn't know about her. It was just one night, 5 years ago. I never got his name. James went very still beside her. 5 years ago? Yes. Where? Eliza frowned, confused by his intensity. The Harrington Hotel bar, after the technology conference. Why? James's face had gone pale. October 15th? A chill ran down Eliza's spine. How did you know that? He turned to look directly at her, his eyes searching her face. Because I was there that night. With a woman I met at the conference. A woman whose name I never got. The world seemed to stop spinning. Eliza stared at him, memories flooding back, a handsome stranger, intelligent conversation, too many glasses of wine, a night of passion with no strings attached. She'd been different then, less guarded, celebrating her first major promotion. That's not possible, she whispered, but even as she said it, she was studying his face, seeing the echoes of Sophia in his features, the shape of his eyes, the curve of his jaw. Lily was born premature, 7.5 months later, James said quietly. When is Sophia's birthday? July 10th. The date hung between them, the math inescapable. They both turned to look at their daughters, playing together obliviously, half-sisters who had somehow found each other in a city of millions. Now, sitting in her office with the DNA results in hand, Eliza knew everything would change. She called James into her office, closing the door behind him. So it's confirmed, he said, reading her expression. She nodded, handing him the envelope. I don't know what to do now, James. I don't know how to tell Sophia. We tell them together, he said gently. And then we figure out what comes next, one day at a time. I've robbed you of 5 years with your daughter, Eliza said, the guilt overwhelming her. How can you even look at me? You didn't know. Neither of us did. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I've been angry since I figured it out, Eliza. I won't pretend I wasn't. But Sophia needs both of us now, and so does Lily. What are you suggesting? Co-parenting, to start. The girls get to know each other as sisters. You and I, we learn to work together, for their sake. It wasn't easy. The night they told the girls was filled with confusion, tears, and eventually cautious joy. Sophia had 1,000 questions, most of which Eliza couldn't answer. Lily was quiet, processing the fact that her friend was actually her sister. Over the following months, their lives slowly intertwined. Sunday dinners became a tradition. James and Lily would come to Eliza's penthouse, filling the sterile space with laughter and life. Sometimes they'd go to James's apartment instead, where Eliza learned to appreciate the cozy chaos of his home. Wintercorp changed too. Eliza implemented new family leave policies, flexible scheduling, and an on-site childcare center. Employees who had feared her began to respect her instead. One evening, nearly a year after the fateful parent-teacher conference, Eliza sat on her balcony watching James play a board game with the girls inside. The sight filled her with a warmth she'd never expected to feel. "They're cheating," James said, joining her with 2 glasses of wine. "Definitely in cahoots against me." Eliza laughed, accepting the glass. "They're sisters. Of course they're in cahoots." "Sisters," he repeated, smiling. "Sometimes I still can't believe it." "I know." She hesitated, then added, "Thank you, James." "For what?" "For not hating me. For giving me a second chance. For sharing Sophia with me when you had every right to be furious." He was quiet for a moment. "You know, the night we met, the real first time, at that conference, I remember thinking you were the most passionate, alive person I'd ever met. Then I saw you again at Wintercorp, and you were like a different person. Cold. Distant." "I was," Eliza admitted. "Somewhere along the way, I convinced myself that success meant not caring, that feelings were a weakness. And now?" She looked through the glass doors at their daughters, heads bent together in conspiratorial giggles. "Now I know better." James's hand found hers on the railing, his touch warm and steady. "For what it's worth, I like this Eliza much better." 6 months later, James moved into the penthouse. Not into Eliza's bedroom, they weren't there yet, but into the guest suite. It made sense for the girls, they told themselves. It was more practical this way. But practicality didn't explain the lingering glances, the casual touches that weren't so casual, the late-night conversations after the children were asleep. On Sophia's 7th birthday, after the guests had gone home and the girls were finally in bed, exhausted from the excitement, Eliza found James cleaning up in the kitchen. "You don't have to do that," she said, taking a plate from his hands. "The cleaning service will handle it tomorrow." "Old habits," he replied with a shrug. "Single dad, remember? I'm used to doing everything myself." "You're not alone anymore," she said softly. He looked at her then, really looked at her, and she felt something shift between them. "No," he agreed. "I'm not." When he kissed her, it felt both familiar and brand new. A memory and a beginning, all at once. "This is complicated," she whispered against his lips. "The girls, the company. Life is complicated," he countered. "But some complications are worth it." 2 years to the day after Eliza had fired James from her company, they stood together in her office, now their office, since he'd been promoted to Chief Innovation Officer. On her desk sat a small velvet box. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, searching her face. "We're doing fine as we are. The girls are happy. We don't need to change anything." Eliza picked up the box, opening it.